Alright guys, so today's lesson is going to focus on finding the measure of an angle using algebra. So we're bringing in some geometry here. So there's a few things that I need to teach you related to angles. Okay, first off, many of you probably remember or know what a 90-degree angle looks like. That is when you have a straight vertical line and a straight horizontal line, and usually you'll see a little square in the corner. Angle is a degree from here to here, and it goes a total of 90 degrees. Okay, so if I extend from my vertex this way, look, I have another 90-degree angle. So from here to here is also 90 degrees. Well, if now I were to ask you what the distance is from here all the way to here, what would you tell me? Well, hopefully you did 90 plus 90. So the distance of a half circle from here to here is 180 degrees, or from here to here is 180 degrees. So what does that mean a first full circle is? Well, hopefully you said it. That would be 360 degrees is a full circle. Okay? And 90-degree angles are these here. Okay. Now that I've made a mess, let's clear that up. Okay, so let's continue by discussing some vocabulary. So in geometry, we have a few different vocabulary terms that it's important for you to be familiar with. The first is the word line. So we know the word line, but in geometry what the word line means is that it's a line that extends indefinitely. So in geometry you'll see arrows at both ends of that line. So that just means that it extends indefinitely. Now, the next part is a line segment. A line segment is part of a line that has a beginning and an end. So that is symbolized symbolized by dots at the end. So an arrow represents going on forever, and dots represents an endpoint on a line. Another vocabulary term that you need to be familiar with is the word ray. A ray has a starting point, so it'll have a dot, and then it extends indefinitely in one direction. Okay? So a line extends indefinitely in two directions. A line segment has an end on both sides, and a ray has an end on one side and then extends indefinitely in one direction. Okay? An angle is formed when two rays meet at the same endpoint. So imagine here's a ray and here is a ray, right? And they both meet down here at that dot. Well, where that dot or that endpoint is, that's what a vertex is called. So a vertex is that dot where the two rays meet, and then the angle is what's formed in between the rays. So from here to here, that's an angle. And again, if I put a little square into it, we know that it's a 90-degree angle. Only angles that have a little square near the vertex between the rays is 90 degrees. So if you see that symbol, that little square, and it doesn't actually say 90 anywhere, you need to know that it is 90. So here is an angle. Here's a little diagram which you're going to see on your homework. And let's talk about what's written here. So here we have the vertex. Can you see that? I'll color it in so you know where I am. Right here. That's the vertex, which we already said. And these are called what? Who remembers? These are rays. So we have two rays. And we have one side of a ray and another side of the ray. That's why I have these words here. And they're forming an angle. An angle is a measurement. That's another way of thinking about it. It's something getting measured. And so the amount of the opening of an angle can be measured. And it goes from 0 up here. And for these demonstration purposes, we're going to pretend that this is a 30-degree angle. It's just for demonstration purposes. So the sketch here, the angle measures 30 degrees. And then we use the little degree symbol that we know we're familiar with from temperature, but it also represents degrees for measurement. The symbol degree indicates degrees. If you fix on one side of an angle and keep moving it to the other side of the angle, the measure will get larger and larger, and eventually you'll go all the way around. And who remembers what that is? If we were to continue this all the way around the vertex, eventually we'd get 360 degrees. So one complete revolution. So imagine if we're going along the outside of these two rays and around, we're going to get the rest of our circle there, 360 degrees. So one complete revolution is 360. And like I mentioned before, half of a circle from here to here is 180 degrees. So 1/2 of a revolution is 180. Sometimes we hear people talk in general about doing a 180. That means turning completely around. So imagine if I have a person here, and he's faced this way. He's got a big nose. And he turns straight around and starts facing the other way. He'll have done a 180. Okay. But if you go back to, what your homework is going to be focused on is looking at 180 degree angles, or two angles that actually equal 180 degrees. Well, if you have two angles that have a sum of 180 degrees, those are called supplementary angles. So if, for instance, an example is if I said angle, and that's the symbol for angle, kind of looks like a less than symbol, but it's not. The difference is that there's a flat side here, horizontal side there, and then the angle comes up like this. So if I said to you, angle A equals, let's say 80 degrees, we'll keep it easy. And then in order to equal a supplementary angle, what would angle B have to be? In other words, if angle A is 80 degrees, then what would angle B have to be to equal our supplementary angle of 180 degrees? Anybody guess? Well, hopefully you said 100 degrees. So again, two angles that add up together should equal 180 degrees. And again, that's a supplementary angle. Alright, let's take an actual example that you might see on your homework tonight. So let's read this together. Example 6. Example 6 says, angle A and angle B in the margins, and so then you look over here and we see angle A and angle B in the margin are supplementary angles. So let's stop there for a second. What does that mean? It means that the angles from here all the way to here are 180 degrees, right? Because the word supplementary angle means 180 degrees. Okay. Now, find the measure of angle A if the measure of angle B is 36 degrees. And so I just mentioned that a supplementary angle is 180 degrees, right? And so then they're doing the steps for you here. They're saying, they drew a picture and then they're saying, since angle A and angle B are supplementary angles, we know that the sum of this is 180 degrees. So then what they did is they wrote the equation out here. Angle A plus angle B equals 180, right? And then they did the drawing, or they went the next step here and they said angle A plus 36 degrees equals 180 degrees. So they replaced angle B with the number 36, or 36 degrees. And then they said solve the equation. So do you see where our algebra is coming in? So if I were to draw exactly what they have there, angle A plus 36 degrees equals 180. And I know some of you can just do this in your head, or you know to say, hey, 180 minus 36. But I'd like us to practice our algebra, because this is the sort of stuff that's going to be on the GED test. So you need to know how to set it up and how to solve it. So our job is to figure out what angle A is. So let's do it algebraically. We're going to follow what they did here. So remember, just like on your homework, your goal is to get this angle by itself on one side of the equal side and the numbers on the other side of the equal side. Well, here I have a plus 36 degrees, so I want to equal it to 0. So what do? We add a negative 36. In other words, subtract 36. Right? Because adding a negative is the same as subtracting a positive. Okay. So now angle A is all by itself. And then you do the math. You do 180 minus 36. And we get an answer of 144 degrees. Now don't forget to put that in your final answer. Make sure your answer looks like this. Make sure that the degree symbol is there, the letter is there, the angle, all of that is there. Okay? Alright. Now we're going to do the practice problem here, student practice problem. So let me clear up the screen here a little bit and we'll try the student practice problem. So at this point, you may want to just pause the video and see if you can answer this question. Do the problem and then hit resume or hit play and see if you got it right. So here's the problem. It says angle X and angle Y are supplementary angles. Find the measure of angle Y if the measure of angle X is 49 degrees. And they also give you a little picture, and I've got that picture out of the way here, but let me see if I can bring it back. There we go. So they also have this picture for you to look at over here. Okay, again, pause, see if you can solve it. Writing it as angle Y equals, and then what degree you got, and then hit play. Okay, so let's see if you did it right. So here's what I would do. First, I'm going to draw the equation. Angle X plus angle y equals 180 degrees. So I've just drawn this sentence in mathematical form. Then it tells me that angle x is 49 degrees. So now this time we know what angle x is, so we're going to put the 49 here, plus angle y equals 180 degrees. So now our job will be to get that 49 degrees away from that angle y. So 49 degrees plus what will equal 0? Well, we know a negative 49 degrees. Anything I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. And so finally, I now have angle y by itself, and 180 minus 49 equals what? Let's do the math. 1, 3, 1. Did you get it right? I hope so. That's basically what our homework is today. Alright, let's try another one. Oh, I don't think I have it. Oh, is this it? Yeah, maybe this is it. I'm in the wrong thing here. Touch. Okay. If you go back to this one, the first example we did, if you then put your actual final answer in for the example, here, 55 plus 40, you'll notice that it's not a 180 degree supplementary angle. So again, pay attention to 7 through 10. They are not necessarily 180 degrees. Letter A says, translate into symbols. Angle y measures 40 degrees more than angle x. Who remembers what this term means from week 1? Oops, more than. Remember? More than, less than, what are we going to do? Flip. So the key to doing 7 through 10 is remembering to flip. Because when you do the more than, it's not as a big deal, but when you do the less than, it is going to be a big deal. So let's please practice. More than, less than, flip. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. And then B says, find the measure of angle x if the measure of angle y is 95 degrees. Okay, so this one is a little bit more tricky. Okay, so if you're reading through this and looking at their visual, they didn't flip it. So, Nina, why should we flip it? Well, I don't know why they didn't flip it in this example, but I'm going to write it using the example because when we do one that's less than, if you don't flip it, you might be in trouble a little bit. You'll have a negative number near your angle, and that's not okay. Okay. So, they tell us that the measure of angle y is 95 degrees. Now here's another thing you need to keep in mind. They didn't say we had supplementary angles, so you can't just equal this out to 180 degrees. We don't know if it's a supplementary angle. So here we can't just say both angles equal 180. We don't know. In fact, I think for most of these they're not going to be 180 degree angles. So, angle y measures 40 degrees more than angle x, and then it says find the measure of angle x if the measure of angle y is 95 degrees. So, if we know angle y is 95 degrees, this is my angle y, and then we know that angle y measures, and so I'm going to use an equal sign here, 40 degrees more than angle x. So I'm going to do angle x plus 40, which is pretty similar to what they have here. I'm just writing it in its true algebraic translation. So now, this is my angle y, because it told us it is, and this is this also is angle y in algebra form, because angle y is means equals 40 degrees more than means plus angle x. Okay, so let's do the algebra. So if I have a plus 40 here, to zero it out, I'm going to do a minus 40 on both sides. Now we have angle x all by itself, and 95 degrees minus 40 degrees gets us 55 degrees. Dun, dun, dun. So, you've got to do this step first because that's going to be your A. So like on number 7A, you need to give me this as your answer. 95 degrees equals, well, this isn't number 7, but use the things there, but it needs to look similar to this. And then angle B, or no, excuse me, answer B is going to look like this. And if you want to translate it so that the angle is first equals 55 degrees, you can. Either answer is appropriate. Does that make sense? Okay, let's try one on your own here. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a practice question. It's not from your homework. I want you to pause the video, see if you can figure it out on your own, and then hit play to see how you did. Okay, here is the practice. And again, you need to know the skill for questions number 7, 8, 9, and 10 on your homework. Okay, so hit pause now and see if you can figure this one out. Alright, I'm going to keep going. Translate into symbols. Angle A measures 20 degrees less than angle B. Find the measure of angle B if the measure of angle A is 90 degrees. So they're giving us angle A. They are giving us angle A. Angle A is going to equal 80 degrees, right? So then I'm going to put 80 degrees here, equals. And then they also said angle A measures, and so we're going to pretend that's our is, measures equals 20 degrees less than angle B, right? So, here we have this word less than, remember, more than, less than, flip. So we're going to put the letter B first, angle B first, then our minus sign, because that's what less than is minus. So this guy's going to go first, and then our 20 degrees is going to go here. So again, more than, less than, flip, right? Okay. So this is what your answer should have looked like. This is what A looks like. That's all I'm looking for on your homework. Okay? Now B says to actually solve and find the measure of angle B. So now, here for answer B, we need to solve this guy. So we have an angle A, we have 80 equals angle B minus 20. Well, we want to get angle B by itself, so we need to take that minus 20 and plus 20, right? So that gets angle B all by itself, and 80 plus 20 equals 100. And that is your answer to letter B. So there's an example of a less than, which your number 9 and your number 10 are less than type problems. So don't forget to flip. Now in this one, we did turn out to have a supplementary angle, but if you... Alright, so for the last part of your homework, questions 11 through 14, it's going to get a little bit even more tricky. So let's use this example here. So it says find x and the measure of angle B for the pair of supplementary angles in the margin. So now we're going back to 180 degree lines, And we're going to find two angles that equal that 180 degrees. So let's take this step by step. So I'm going to try practicing drawing this picture just a little bigger. Okay, so what do we know? We know that this whole thing from here to here is a straight line, so we know that it's going to equal 180 degrees, because it also said supplementary angle. And then what else do we know? We know that angle A, they gave us angle A, so from here to here is 44 degrees. So we know that angle A equals 44 degrees. What we don't know is what angle B equals. So what we don't know is from here to here. We don't know what that one is, right? But what do we know about it? We know that that angle, which is angle B, this one right here, does equal x plus 4. So if we take that x plus 4 and substitute it for our angle B, we now have a set of different numbers and a letter that we want to eventually get by itself. So again, this is angle B plus angle A equals 180. See it there? Okay. So let's bring that down slightly. Let me delete that. We'll start over here. Okay. So let me write it again. Angle B, x plus 4, plus angle A, which is 44 degrees. And I know they have it switched on your example, but either way works because it's adding two numbers, or two sets, equals 180. Okay. And then if you still need the visual, it's right here. So angle B is right there, and angle A is right there. So what do we need to do? Now this time, notice that it has gotten a little complex because now we need to add our two numbers or simplify this before we move on. So I need to take my 4 and my 44 and add them together, which equals 48. Notice I haven't moved anything from one side of the equal sign to the other yet. I've just condensed here. Now we can subtract 48 from both sides. And what does that give us? Well, that gives us x equals 132. Now this is not the answer to angle B, right? That is the answer to x. Remember? Angle B equals x plus 4. So this 132 needs to go where that x is. And then what do we need to do to that angle, 132 degrees? We need to add 4 to it to get our B. So 132 plus 4 equals, and here I can pull this up so that you can see it. Here. See it there? 132 plus 4 equals 136. So x equals not x. Nina. Angle B equals 136 degrees. So there's two answers that you need to find for this. Some of you might say, oh, well, I could have just found that by doing 180 minus 48. But Remember, the problem itself asks you to find x, so you need to give two answers there. You're going to have to give finding x as well as the measurement for angle B in your answer. So again, x we found to be 132, and angle B in this example is 136 degrees. Okay, so that is exactly the steps you want to follow for examples 11 and 12. And then again for 13 and 14, same deal, except they just replace some measures in there. Okay. Okay, I just noticed, at least on the PDF I uploaded to Canvas, that there's some numbers missing for number 13 and 14. And I'll actually type this out on Canvas in case you don't catch it here. If you got the handout from Debbie, the numbers are not missing, but somehow when I scanned this as a PDF, it disappeared. Some of the numbers disappeared, which is not helpful. So number 11 and 12 on your homework you should be able to do no problem, but when you get to number 13 it says the words refer to exercise 11, and then it says find, and then there's a blank. So what it should say is find x. So pencil this in or pen it in. Find x and the measure of, and then there's a blank there. Well, if you were in class again, it should say it should say the measure of angle B should be there. If the measure of and then it should say angle A is 52 degrees. Silly, huh? So what's missing again on your paper if you didn't get it in class? You're missing this, where it says find x, and then you're missing where it says and the measure of, and then right there between the of and the number 14 should be this guy, and then if the measure of, and then you're missing this part. Okay, and I'll type that out on Canvas as well. And then same for number 12, or excuse me, number 14. You're missing the exact same spots. So where it says refer to exercise 12, and then it says find blank and the, so it should be find x and the measure of, and then it should say angle B, just like in the other one. If the measure of, and then so this is the last part on 14, it should say if the measure of, and then you're going to put in angle A is 65 degrees. Okay? So if you're having a hard time following question 13 and 14, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to do number 13 for you right now. Okay. Okay, so I said I would do question number 13 for you. So I've drawn in question 11 so that you can see it, and then underneath it here is question 13. So it says find x and the measure of angle B if the measure of angle A is 52. So on number 13 you need to do just what you did for number 11, except, now watch what I'm going to do. You want to change this 66 to 52. So again, you want to change 52 to, excuse me, you want to change 66 to 52 to solve this one. So to solve 13, we want to put in angle A as 52 degrees. Plus, and we keep B the way it is, so B is x plus 5 equals 180. So that's how you set up number 13. And then, so let's solve it. Oops. Let's solve it. Guess I can't move that. By doing, we're going to first combine 52 and 5 together, right? 52 and 5. So that equals 57 plus x equals 180. Then we need to subtract 57 from both sides. And that equals, I can't. Okay, clearly I can't move my whole screen. So 180 minus 57 equals 123. So for number 13, the x equals 123. Now, is that angle B? Remember? That's just what angle X is, so we need to pop in X and add 5 to it. So for number 13, X equals 123. And then angle B then equals what? Angle B equals 123 plus 5, which is 128. Okay? So again, number 13, the answer is X is 123 and angle B is 128. Okay, I hope that helps describe it or explain it. So Debbie's going to cover this in class with you, but again, if you get home, you're doing your homework, and you get a little lost, I hope this YouTube video helped you figure it out. Okay guys, have a good evening.